In the age of iron and honor, there strode upon the field a figure both feared and revered the knight, clad in gleaming harness, astride a war-horse bred for battle. His presence struck both awe and dread into the hearts of men. Yet, though he seemed invincible, his might was bound to the earth beneath his steed, the weather above his helm, and the wisdom of the commander at his side. For the truth, hidden beneath tales and songs, was that even the strongest steel could be bent, even the bravest heart could be slowed, and even the proudest charge could be broken. This is the tale of the knight, as he truly was, his power, his limits, and the cunning needed to unmake him. Stay with me until the end, noble listener, and let your mind be armed with the truth. Like, subscribe, and ride with us into the heart of history. In the days when banners rippled like flames upon the wind, and the earth shook beneath the thundering hoofs of war, there walked among men a breed unlike any other, the knight. Clad in steel from crown to heel, mounted upon a steed of noble blood, trained in arms from the years of tender youth, he was forged for the clash, for the dust and roar of battle. His helm shone in the sun, his lance was keen, and his very presence could stiffen the sinews of friend and chill the marrow of foe. Yet this power, so sung in the halls of lords and told in the hushed tones of peasants, was no endless tide. For the might of a knight, like the draw of a bow, was naught without the right place, the right hour, and the right hand to guide it. From boyhood was the knight shaped. As a page in the hall of a lord, he learned the speech of the court, the care of horses, the tending of arms, and the courtesy that marked his station. The squire's years were harder still, filled with the ring of steel on steel, the dust of the tilt-yard, the bruising weight of armor upon young limbs. He learned to ride a destrier until horse and rider moved as one flesh, to couch a lance so that its point found the heart of the target, to wield sword and shield, to wrestle in the press where breath came hard and sight was dimmed by helm and visor. By the time he bent the knee to take the stroke of knighthood, he was a weapon honed steady in the saddle, swift on the ground, able to keep formation when chaos reigned. Yet such craft and courage came dear. The harness he bore was no simple coat, but mail of countless rings, or in later years, plate shaped by the master's hammer to fit his form like a second skin. The weight, though heavy to the eye, was spread over limb and frame so that he could run, mount, or strike without being chained by it. A high, backed saddle held him fast in the shock of the charge, and stirrups let him brace like a wall of oak. His lance was the spear of his first wrath, the sword was often his last resort. His destrier, fierce and trained for the press of war, was his partner in every charge, yet he kept coursers for the road and rounceys for the long haul, for war devoured horses as it did men. The cost of feeding, shodding, and guarding these beasts weighed heavy, and the march of armies bent to the needs of horseflesh as much as to the will of kings. Upon open, firm ground, the knight was a storm loosed from the clouds' speed, weight, and reach combined to break the line before him. The sight of 100 lances levelled, their pennons snapping like tongues of flame, could make even the stout-hearted falter, but should the ground turn soft with rain, or grow tangled with root and branch, the charge lost its teeth. In the narrow lanes of a village, in the churn of a muddy field, the knight might fight afoot, the long shaft of his lance set aside for the shorter, deadlier kiss of sword, polearm, or dagger. The song that tells of his invincibility leaves out these truths, that even the mightiest harness cannot stand against cunning ground, that the knight alone was but one strong man among many, and that his fall was often wrought not by single combat, but by the hand of strategy. Through the ages, armor grew as the seed grows to the oak. First was the hauberk of mail, rings linked so close that the edge of a blade could scarce pass. This was worn over the padded gambeson, which drank the shock of blows and kept the steel from biting the flesh beneath. Yet mail, for all its virtues, could yield to the crushing kiss of mace or axe, and so the smiths began to shape plates to guard the breast, the back, the limbs. In time, the knight became sheathed in a full harness of plate, its joints cunningly made so he might kneel, turn, and swing without hindrance. The sword, for all its fame, was a poor friend against such iron walls. It was the thrust into the gap, not the sweep at the plate, that was the sword's true purpose against armor. Thus were born the arts of half, swording, where the hand gripped the steel itself to guide the point like a short spear into visor, slit, or armpit. More feared than the sword in such fights were the poleaxe, the warhammer, and the mace. The poleaxe was many weapons in one axe blade to hew where armor was light, hammer to dent where it was strong, spike to pierce where the plates met. The warhammer's narrow beak could bite through mail and creep into the seams of plate. The mace, heavy and blunt, could rattle the very brain within its shell of steel. Even if the plate held, the body within could be stunned, staggered, or felled. The warhorse was itself a weapon. The destrier, bred and trained for the field, could shoulder into a man, strike with its hooves, or bite in the heat of the fight. It stood fast to the clash of shield and spear, the shout of men, the blare of horn, the roar of drums. Yet for all its strength, the horse was flesh, and a shaft in the chest or a cut to the leg could undo the knight in a breath. Archers, crossbowmen, and spearmen learned to aim at the mount, for to bring down the horse was to bring down the rider's speed, height, and shock. The ground beneath mattered as much as the man above. Flat and dry, it gave wings to the charge. Wet or broken, it bound the hooves and stole the force from the blow. Commanders wise in war walked the field before the fight, seeking places to strike and places to avoid. Stakes could be driven into the earth to shatter a charge, ditches hidden to spill horse and man. Weather was another lord in the field rain, turned the earth to mire. Heat weighed upon man and beast within their metal shells, cold stiffened straps and numbed fingers. Victory over the knight was seldom won by strength of arm alone. It was wrought by breaking the frame in which his might was set. Terrain was bent to slow him, ranks were closed to stop him, arrows and bolts were loosed to blind, wound, and break his rhythm. The pike wall, the spear hedge, the disciplined shield line, these were the anvil to his hammer. Once down from his horse, whether by pike, ditch, or chance of ground, the knight was at the mercy of numbers. Polearms hooked and pulled, hammers struck, daggers sought the gaps. Yet death was not always the aim, for the ransom of a captured knight was worth more than his corpse. Thus were many seized, bound, and held for gold. In close fight upon the ground, the knight was both lion and stag fierce in defence, yet hunted for the prize he was. Strikes to the plate were folly. The wise sought the hollows beneath arm and behind knee, the slit of the visor, the join of gauntlet and sleeve. Grappling was a grim art, taught to unseat, trip, and bind. The weight of the harness, though well borne, was still a burden when balance was lost. The heat within the helm stifled breath, the sweat stung the eyes, and time itself became the ally of his foe. Yet the tale of the knight cannot be told as though all were one and the same. In one age he bore mail and shield, in another full plate and visor. In one land he rode to break the foe in the open field, in another he fought on foot in the mire. In the Levant he faced the arrow storms of horse archers. In Flanders, the bog that swallowed hooves. In the Alps, the narrow pass that split his force. His might was shaped not only by his harness, but by the land, the weather, the gold that paid his smith and farrier, the law that spared his life for ransom. So the question, how hard to fell a knight, has no single telling. On his own ground, with his horse fresh, his charge ordered, and his lord's banner before him, he was a tempest that few could face and live. But strip from him the field, the speed, the order, and the mount, and he was but one man strong, yes, but mortal. The songs tell of heroes, the truth tells of conditions, and in the end the victory went not always to the strongest arm, but to the mind that turned the field to its own favour. Thus ends our journey through the dust and din of the medieval field, where knights rode as thunder and fell as men. We have seen the truth behind the gleam of their harness, the craft of their arms, the strength of their steeds, and the cunning of those who faced them. The knight's power was real, yet it was bound by earth and sky, by the lay of the land, the mood of the weather, and the wisdom of the hour. Remember, history belongs not only to the bold who charge, but to the patient who prepare. If this tale has stirred your blood and sharpened your mind, let your hand be quick to like, your voice ready to subscribe, and your heart eager to ride with us again. For many more stories lie waiting of valor, of cunning, and of the turning of fate in the age of steel and honor.